I genuinely think that Yeat's new album 2093 could usher in the next generation of hip-hop music, and I didn't even like the album all that much. Let's talk about it.
Let's get disrespectful. Let's get disrespectful. You better have some respect.
Now, Yeat has always been an interesting artist to me, since while I normally lump him in with the other derivative rage musicians like the Opium signees, for example, across his discography there are the occasional hints of potential. His last album especially, while I didn't like a majority of the songs, there were some genuinely great moments like None I Change, Now, and Myself that really made me think Yeat had the ability to create a genuinely enjoyable and sonically engaging project, unlike a lot of his contemporaries. And 2093 is kinda that. So what do I mean? Well, I'll start with by far my favorite aspect of the album, which is undoubtedly the production. If nothing else, I think the spacey, futuristic instrumentals across 2093 at least show that Yeat is more than capable of creating a cool atmosphere with his music, which already puts it a step above a majority of the modern rage scene in my opinion. There are so many highlights on here production-wise. There's the knocking drums and bass on More, the dramatic and beautiful synths across Bought the Earth. The intro of Tell Me is the exact sound I imagine playing when an alien lands on Earth. Keep Pushin's intro and outro sound incredible. You Should Know, Ride and Set It Off, Familia, If We Being Real, 1093. All of these utilize beats that not only sound great, but include a surprising amount of structure and complexity, very unlike the many repetitive instrumentals in rap nowadays. Even with some of the songs I don't really like I Love or Mr. In Between It, they still have really sticky instrumental refrains, and sometimes even use beat switches so the song doesn't get too boring. And of course I can't forget the regular show sample on Breathe. Really proves that you don't need to have an ugly distorted 808 and fuzzy vocals to create a hard-ass instrumental. Honestly, the only beat that I didn't like on here was the one on Team CEO, since the mixing felt a little off to me, but overall the hit-to-miss ratio on here is exceptional. Something I was also pleasantly surprised by was the lyrical content on this record. Now, Yeat is definitely far from what I'd consider to be a lyrical rapper, but I can absolutely appreciate the attempts at a concept on some of these songs. Back to Bought the Earth. That track really conveys the idea of power and selfishness through the use of such a grandiose claim in the title and lyrics. Lifestyle with Lil Wayne sees Yeat reflecting on how hard he works on his music and the effect his drug use has on it, in a strangely meta way considering Yeat said he went sober during the creation of this album. There are even some consistent themes that stretch across multiple tracks, like Yeat's aforementioned sobriety, and of course the allusions to aliens in the future as the title would suggest, which is perfectly backed by the sound of the record. These motifs do begin to get pretty played out as the tracklist continues, and there is still a fair share of filler bars on here, but coming from someone who expected nothing interesting besides the occasional funny bar, there's legitimately some substance. But with all that said, I still struggle to really love this record due to Yeat's voice. Maybe it is just a me thing considering I think vocals are one of the biggest deciding factors to whether I enjoy a song or not, but Yeat's bassy, monotone style of rapping just really doesn't do it for me on most of these tracks. Now that's not to say that there aren't great moments vocally. Going back to Breathe, I think the faster flows really help Yeat's voice sound a lot more present on the track, and the occasional lines where he goes up to a higher register hit super hard. And there's tracks like Shade where he switches up his delivery pretty frequently, but unfortunately I think a lot of this project is bogged down by either boring vocal performances like on More, You Should Know, I Love, Team CEO, and Psycho Kane, which by the way should absolutely not have a name as intense as that with it being so mundane. It's especially a problem in this run of songs from track 14 and 19, where the instrumentals also take a slight step down in quality. There's also the occasional really strange delivery from Yeat, like on Nothing Changed, which 9 times out of 10 just sound awful. So overall, yeah, I'm not really feeling the vocals on this record, which admittedly does frustrate me since it's a critique I know is super subjective, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't think that Yeat's delivery dragged this album down from what I could easily call an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10 record, to something closer to the 6 range. Still way better than I ever expected a Yeat project to be, but just falling short of what I'd consider a good album. So then why, despite me not really loving 2093, did I make the insane claim that it could be the future of hip-hop? Well, let me explain.
Think you the shit, bitch? You not even the fuck.
I think in order for me to really explain why I think 2093 will have such a massive impact, I have to paint a little picture for you of the current state of rap. The sea of mid that was the year 2023 really put into perspective for me that we're in sort of a transitional phase for the genre of hip-hop. It seems like a lot of rap superstars of the 2010s have either begun playing with the idea of retirement, plateaued in terms of pushing the boundaries of the genre, or have had massive controversies that impact their music in a negative way. And what newer artists do we have to match both these guys' critical and commercial success? Ken Carson? Destroy Lonely? Ice Spice? I don't even hate Ice Spice like it seems like a lot of rap Instagram does, but I highly doubt she's gonna be the next Nicki Minaj or something. And in a time where it seems hip-hop artists are making music more for the goal of scoring a hot new TikTok trend than for the actual passion of the craft, it feels like more than ever rap as a whole is starting to fall off, at least in terms of quality. But then I look at Yeat in 2093, and I see an artist who showed that he actually has a vision with this record. At 22 tracks, you'd expect this thing to be nothing but a slog of filler to get as many streams as possible, but it actually carries its length decently well, and that's all due to a level of creativity that most post-2020 mainstream rap albums seem to lack. Which is also why it makes it so disappointing to look at the comments under Yeat's Instagram after this record dropped. So many people just saying, I miss the old Yeat, or start doing drugs again, this new shit ain't it. Like, obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I cannot stand for the life of me when people dislike an artist's new work solely for the fact that it sounds different from their old work. Like what, do you just want Yeat to make 10 versions of his first studio album for the next decade? It's the exact same thing that happened with Playboi Carti and Whole Lotta Red back in 2020. I vividly remember that Christmas when it dropped, and Whole Lotta Mid, Whole Lotta Ass, and Whole Lotta Skips were all trending on Twitter, with a majority of people, including myself, just not liking the record because it wasn't Die Lit 2.0. And now it's arguably the most influential rap album of the 2020s. Let artists experiment with their music. That's how we got classics like Yeezus, Rodeo, If You're Reading This It's Too Late, Die Lit, Igor, etc, etc. And maybe it is a little too early of a prediction, but I truly think that with the uniqueness displayed on 2093, as well as Yeat's steadily growing commercial appeal, this could legitimately be the album to move the needle forward in hip-hop, like Whole Lotta Red did before it, or Rodeo before that, or even 808s and Heartbreak before that. I mean, after all, Yeat did come back from 2093.